Hey, Bulls and Bears, welcome back. You're watching Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. As usual, as always, back with another dose of economic reality. Egg prices are falling. Good news. Bad news, so are bridges and the infrastructure. That's also falling. So, some things you want to fall, like prices, egg prices. Bridges, not so much. You don't want them to fall. We're going to talk about all that and more. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Please, I don't say this very often, but please make sure you are subscribed to help this channel stay alive. We're not at the top of the search results, so please help us, at least stay afloat here on this platform if you like these updates and if you like my analysis, and most of all, if you like our comment section. A lot of very smart people down there, people much smarter than myself down there. I've been an investor for over 15 years. I've been working in the financial system for now close to 20 years. So I've got a lot of direct experience, on-hand experience, so to speak, dealing with clients and just working in finance and lending and underwriting and many different positions I've had throughout the years. So I integrate that into my news analysis, and I love just reading the news every day and bringing you my perspective. So thank you for those that come back to this channel. And most of all, thank you for those that are subscribed and for the people that support the channel with the super thanks button down below. Let's get into it. I've got more good news besides falling egg prices. In New York City, there's a company now that's developing vacant buildings, office buildings into apartments. It seems like it's going to be very difficult because you're going to need a bathroom and plumbing in every apartment, and office buildings aren't set up like that. So there's got to be a lot of major renovations, happening. Now in New York, that may be profitable because rents are so expensive. But in other cities, I'd be very surprised, if this really took hold. I could see San Francisco, New York, just because of the severe prices there for rents. But here's this article out of Yahoo Finance. First of all, it's Yahoo Finance, but look at this grammar. Let me put this up here. Look at this. New York City developer is turning offices into an apartments. Not into apartments, into an apartment. So this is a big publication here, a big site that people go to get their news on, and they have this weird grammar going on here. Now, cities like New York and San Francisco were one of the biggest, hardest hit for people leaving those areas, leaving the downtown areas. A lot of different reasons, crime, but also in 2020 with the health crisis, a lot of people experienced working at home for the first time, and they found out that, hey, I don't want to go back to the office. I don't want to ride the subway. I don't want to commute. I don't want to get up and get ready and pack a lunch and go sit in an office for 8 hours. So people are refusing to go back to the office in some cases, and a lot more people that have been called back to the office are not going back and deciding to work in the gig economy. So it's very interesting, but it's going to be interesting to watch how this unfolds. I don't think it's going to be very common to see a company convert office buildings. It needs to be done, definitely. All these vacant office buildings, and considering the housing crunch and shortage that we have, and rents really haven't come down very much. Home prices haven't come down very much. So we need a lot more places to live. So maybe this will work. We'll have to see how it goes here. Office building vacancy rates are over 50% in New York and many cities. It got up to 70%, I think, in Manhattan. With so much unused office real estate, there's a push to rethink how those empty floors could be put to use. Here in New York City, one of the major projects is working in Lower Manhattan, turning a former office building into apartments at 160 Water Street. I don't know, so we'll have to see. It's very expensive. If they could figure out a cost-effective way to do this without having to have, just enormous rents to pay for the infrastructure, to pay for the renovation, then it's going to be a nice little way to get some more apartments into the market here. But rents actually are rising now. Many people predicted that rents were going to start dropping and even crashing, and we've got data to go over here from the apartment list. Rents are rising once again, but the increases are much lower than they have been in previous years. So at this point, year to date, rent prices on average overall across the nation are up 1.9%. Now in 2021, by comparison, rents were up almost 18% year over year. So the growth has definitely slowed down. And with this small increase of only 1.9% year over year, I would estimate that the next year is going to be negative rent growth. And these things take a long time to play out. Again, the people predicting the crashes, and you wake up one morning and home prices are down 50%. That's just not possible. There's too many things happening. Again, we have to remind people there's still a lot of rescue programs in place. There's cities that still have rent moratoriums in place where landlords cannot evict people, so that naturally creates a housing crunch. Actually, Los Angeles just ended that recently. We haven't seen the effects of that yet, but these things will take a long time to play out. By comparison, also 2018 we're up 3.5% year over year from the prior year. 2022 rents were up 3.3% from the year prior. 2019 rents were up 2.5% from the year prior. So deceleration in rent price growth and rent drops are coming next, in my opinion. Maybe as soon as this fall, we'll start to see year over year price declines. All right. So now this doesn't mean that all areas are up 1.9%. This is just an average. Some cities are down, some are up. But when you average everything, when you crunch it together, it's about 1.9% year over year rent growth. So not bad. Less than the CPI, the fake inflation number that they feed us. So see, I do have good news sometimes. Some people out there say I never have good news. Not true. Rent growth slowing is good. It's not as good as rents dropping. Everybody wants more affordable housing, right? The vacancy rate is now back to where it was right before the health crisis kicked in 2020. We're at 7% vacancy rate. Let me throw that chart up here. It's a nice looking chart. So you can see if you go back to the start of the health crisis in early 2020, we're at about 7.2%. And before that happened, you could see that the vacancy rate was growing and rising. And then, of course, all heck broke loose. Vacancy rates dropped. Chaos ensued. And the markets went crazy. Rents went crazy. Car prices went crazy. The real estate market went crazy. Everything went crazy, didn't it? So are we returning to normal? Well, I think by the time we start returning to normal, something else crazy is going to happen, if you know what I mean. Maybe an all-out banking crisis. Maybe everything goes dark. Maybe another country will compromise our banking system here, and everything will go dark, and it'll be chaos, like many preppers have been predicting. And a lot of these preppers I used to watch, and I started stacking canned goods myself. So financial / preparation is kind of the mindset that I've been in now for a few years. And other people say it's a waste of time. Nothing bad's ever going to happen, even though 2020 was pretty crazy when you see what happened globally. But there's still people out there saying that's just a once in a lifetime thing. Nothing bad's ever going to happen again in our lifetime. Maybe they're right, but I kind of doubt it. All right, let's get into some other news here. Egg prices, more good news. More good news. Can I get a clap? Can I get a clap? We have good news today. Egg prices see largest monthly decline in 72 years. How does that happen? Did people just stop eating eggs because the prices were too high? Did people go and buy a bunch of farmland and get their own chickens and hens and started cultivating their own eggs? So I don't need to go buy a farm and get chickens anymore and hens because now egg prices have crashed. Completely changed my plans. Not really. America's looking for relief at the grocery store trip. Relief is coming your way. Grocery prices increased slightly, so grocery prices are still up overall. 1.1% year, no, not year over year, 0.1% month over month. Grocery prices rose at a slower pace, up 5.8% year over year. There we go. So we're still up almost 6% year over year. Egg prices, however, wow, this is a big drop here. Let me put this chart up here. The year over year number for egg prices is now 0%. So we are now flat year over year. At one point, eggs were up about 70% year over year. That was back in January compared to the year prior. But now we've seen a huge drop. So please let me know what you think is causing this. a big drop in the cost of eggs. All right, but now let me inject a little bit of reality into this. The year-over-year number doesn't mean that egg prices are down compared to where they were before the health crisis. In fact, egg prices are still a lot higher, right? So just looking at the year-over-year number doesn't give you the full picture. If you see an unusual spike because of things like the flu outbreaks that we saw at many of these chicken farms and how many millions of chickens had to be put down, that could cause a short-term spike. And then when you get to the 1 year after that mark and you look back to the previous year, it's going to show a big drop, but prices are still up a lot compared to where they were pre-health crisis, right? So we're not out of the woods. Grocery store trip is still a lot more expensive than it used to be. But hey, I try to give you a little bit of good news and bright spots every now and then. It's interesting, though, that for Easter, prices were still high. They waited until after Easter. It was a plan. Maybe not. Anyways, let's get into some other news here. Millions of borrowers in danger of default when student loan payments resume. This was a study put out here from the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, and they're saying 1 in 5 borrowers, which is about nearly 6 million people, will not be able to resume their payments. It's pretty dire forecast. Will not be able to resume their payments, not even for a month or two. Wow, that's a lot of 1 in 5 people. So then what about the other 4 out of 5? How long will they be able to make it? Maybe a few months before they're pretty much tapped out and they can't pay their loans. And what's going to happen? Will they get their wages garnished? I don't think the student loan companies do that. I think they report them to the credit bureaus, but there's some changes that were done now as far as credit reporting goes. So we'll have to see how it goes. Defaults on federal student loans don't affect the economy in the same way as borrowers defaulting on privately held debts. And we're already seeing a lot of retailers dropping off on their profits, and all these students that are going to be repaying their loans, if they choose to repay their loans, that's going to be less money that they're going to have to spend out at these retail stores. So will this bleed over and cause even more pain and more layoffs in retail? Please let me know what you think down in comments. Or will they just come back and reverse all this and extend the moratorium and say that people have another 3 years where they don't have to pay their student loans? Why do I say 3 years? Because it's been over 3 years since it was stopped. It was early 2020 with the onset of the health crisis. They stopped student loan payments. Supposedly, we were in a economic recovery since then, but here we are over 3 years later, and we're just now talking about resuming student loan payments, right? So something doesn't add up. If it's an economic recovery, why do we need tens of millions of students, not repaying their student loans? Pretty interesting. Maybe you can also answer that question for me down in comments. Let's talk about this. A lot of news articles out about this. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, etc. America's infrastructure, bridge collapsing on the I-95 in Pennsylvania, but not just because it was old and weak. It was actually due to a truck fire. Now, some people are saying that it was weak. It should have been able to withstand the fire. But here's the thing, when I looked into this, the American Society of Civil Engineers gives America's infrastructure a very bad grade. They gave it a C minus, So we're a nation of $32 trillion in debt, but yet we still have a C minus on our infrastructure grade. So how much money do we need to print or borrow in this case to get our infrastructure grade up to a B? What if our debt was 50 trillion? Would that get us to a B? Will we need 100 trillion to get to an A? Or will it not matter, because no matter how much money we borrow or print, we're just going to do other things with it besides put it into infrastructure, like send it all over the world, hand it out to, or maybe we'll just give it to the banks, so the banks don't have to worry as much about bank runs. It continues here. The United States is consistently falling short on funding infrastructure maintenance. A report by former Fed board chairman Paul Volcker, the Volcker Alliance, estimated the U.S. has a 1 trillion, that's trillion with a T, a 1 trillion backlog in needed repairs. over 220,000 bridges across the country, which is about 33% of the total, require rehabilitation or replacement. That's pretty scary. I was driving across the Coronado Bridge a few months ago, which is out over the bay here in San Diego. It goes to Coronado. And I was looking down and I was thinking, how old is this bridge? Hasn't been updated. I always think about those things when I'm on a bridge. When I'm in a cable car, I was on the cable car. Where was this at? The zoo a few years ago with San Diego Zoo. And same thing. I'm looking up at the cables. I wonder who does the maintenance here. Anyways, those kind of things scare me. So I see infrastructure failing, and I get nightmares, falling off bridges and collapsing bridges, etc. So interesting that we even have to talk about this again in a nation where we have so much debt, where the levels of money that we run through here are misallocated. Now we have to worry about how our bridge is going to hold us up here while we're driving across them, right? So, all right, folks, I was glad I was able to integrate some good news into today's report. What do you think about the falling egg prices and the falling bridges? Please let me know down in comments. Also, will that conversion work in New York City where these vacant business offices, commercial real estate buildings, will they be successful in converting enough of these to make a difference into livable houses, townhomes / condos? Again, please let me know, people. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll talk to you very soon. We'll be back with another economic update very, very soon. Keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.